Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We are starting our afternoon session today with an all-student panel covering everything from the Faculty of Arts. We're just going to wait a minute or two as all of you folks keep filing in. I see the attendee numbers keep climbing. So yeah, welcome to today's session. It is an Ask Me Anything session, gives you a chance to ask your questions, get answers from fellow students, and the way it'll work today is we will take your questions using the Q&A function. So the chat will be available for us to respond, provide some links, things like that. However, the Q&A function is the place where you can type in questions. And for those of you also watching, if there's a question that you think is a really good one and you'd really like for us to answer, you can upvote that question and then it'll rise to the top as we are reviewing the live questions as they come in. So we will get started. Thank you, everybody. My name is Joanna Mancher. I am the Student Engagement and Communication Specialist with the Faculty of Arts. And today we have a panel of 8 students here to answer all your questions. So yeah, we'll start with Emma, Rebecca, Kegman, Abigail, Marissa, Parul, Luke, and Nathaniel. Take it away, Emma.
Awesome. Hi. So my name's Emma. I'm going to my 5th year of a poli-sci degree, political science. I'm in a double minor of comparative literature and philosophy, so kind of a weird mix there. Right now I work for the Gateway, the student newspaper, and I've also been involved in the debate club and a bunch of different kind of student governance stuff. So all the nerdy things, can't wait to talk about them. Yeah, that's kind of me.
Okay, hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm the president of the University of Alberta Anthropology Undergraduate Student Group. I'm a 4th year honors anthropology major. I interact a lot with the Landing and APIRG and all kinds of social justice groups across campus. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Keng Min. I'm a 3rd year fine arts student. I'm currently involved as an executive on the art club, and I am a admins director at Oasis as well as counselor for Oasis.
Hey everyone, my name is Abby. My pronouns are she, her. I'm going into my 3rd year with an honors in political science, a minor in economics, and I'm also a Peter Lougheed Scholar. I am the president of the Poli-Sci Undergraduate Association and also work for the Lead Center under the Students' Union as a student development coordinator.
Hi everybody, my name is Marissa. I use she, her pronouns. I am a 5th year double major in sociology and drama and a minor in art and design. I'm also currently taking a certificate in international studies. I am the current VP internal for Oasis, and I do publicity for a production company for the drama club called Abadam, and I've been involved amongst a few productions within the drama community.
Hi everyone, my name is Parul. My pronouns are she and her, and I am going into my 4th year of a double major with English and political science, and a minor in women gender studies and the international learning certificate. I'm just involved a little bit all across campus, so like SU services like the Sexual Assault Center, Landing. I am also the current vice president academic for Oasis and the editor-in-chief for Lucifer. So yeah, you can find me like a little bit everywhere on campus.
Hi, my name's Luke, pronouns he, him. I'm going into my 6th year of a criminology degree with a certificate in ethics. I, like Parul, involved a little bit everywhere on campus. I do a lot of stuff with the SU, such as the events crew and Week of Welcome. And then I also am the president of the Sociology Undergraduate Students Association, and I am on our water polo team.
Hello everyone, my name is Nathaniel. I'm a 4th year econ and poli-sci double major. I'm currently on Arts Work Experience work term, so I'm working for the Faculty of Arts this year full time as a student recruitment, engagement, and communications intern. Outside of that, I recently joined Oasis as a communications director, and I'm a writer at U Alberta, which is one of the other blogs on our campus.
All right, we've got a few questions already. So let's jump into talking about, I don't know, kind of crappy situation that everything's online and we don't get to have that rush of being back on campus, you know, shoulder to shoulder and being in person with everybody. So can you guys talk about, I don't know, how to make connections with people now that everything has almost entirely moved online, and what do you have in terms of advice for new students to make connections and to get involved? So I'll let Marissa lead with this, and I'm sure she'll talk a little bit about Oasis, and then yeah, maybe get a couple more of you guys to jump in about that.
That's a really difficult question, to be honest, because online I find it is difficult to create a connection. My best advice would be to, in the best way possible, join clubs, go to events, and follow almost anything that you can related to the University of Alberta. So, you know, start by going, like, if whatever department you're from, like, try to find that department's Instagram, follow Oasis, because we'll be doing events, those departments will be doing events, and they're an opportunity for you to connect with people who are also in the same boat as you, and hopefully from there you'll be able to trade your social medias and then stay connected to that. And then ultimately, when you do return to campus, you have some people that you kind of know, but you can meet up at one of the campus bars perhaps, or go to an event on campus in person as well. That's from mine. So I would say follow everything possible and join things. That's my best advice. Anybody else?
Yeah, I can also jump in on this. As far as like in your classes go, I find just making the space for people to feel comfortable to chat. Like, for example, like sometimes I know in my last semester, the prof left the Zoom call open after. So if people just wanted to chat, hang out, they had that opportunity. What I found over the course of university is most of the time, people want to make friends as much as you want to make friends. We're all living through this crazy world together. So yeah, just making space and remembering that if you want to make a friend, they probably also want to be your friend.
Joanna, you're muted right now.
There we go. Lesson 1. Here you go, folks. Watch that mute button. That is like, yeah. Thank you, Marissa. So I'll get Nathaniel to throw up the link to Bears Den, because we've got a question in the chat saying, where do we go to join clubs? So Marissa had already indicated there's lots of clubs, associations, faculties, departments, everybody's on social media. So just do a quick search there. And then, yeah, does anybody want to speak to any of the clubs that they're involved with and how to find them and how to get involved?
I can maybe jump in on that one. Yeah, I'd say for sure, just echo, like, being involved in a club is the best thing. You get to meet people who are automatically interested in at least one thing that you're interested in. And the U of A actually, I think, is quite famous for having like one of the largest amount of clubs of any university. We have like a huge variety, whether it's like the hide and seek club, which apparently is still doing things online. I don't know how, but that will exist this year. Like board game clubs. I've been part of the debate club, which has been really huge for me. Where people, people who are interested in lots of different topics come together and argue about them. It's been super fun and really helped to build my confidence just as like a speaker and someone who just like, can now engage on like a ton of different topics. Yeah, and Bears Den's actually a great resource for that. It lists like literally, if you just go to the Bears Den link, Pretty much every club that exists on campus will be there. You can see a description of it, how to get in touch with them. There's also going to be a virtual clubs fair this year. So usually you'd be able to, in real life, go and talk to like a representative from each club and see kind of what their thing's about. They make like cute little trifolds. You can really get like a good vibe of a club. That'll be a little bit different this year. It'll be like through links to Zoom or Google Meet or that kind of thing. But you'll be able to see on the Students Union website a list of all the clubs, how to get in touch with them, and information there. So definitely recommend taking advantage of that. It'll be happening the whole first week of school, so starting on the 31st and then through the first week of September. So yeah, definitely recommend it. Clubs are the best thing. Hit up Bears Den, and don't be afraid to like sign up for a club, even if you maybe don't want to follow through with that club. I would definitely recommend at least going to the first couple meetings, like feeling it out, seeing if it's for you. It's way better to try something and decide you don't like it than to not have tried it at all. So yeah, don't be afraid to be that person who signs up for like 80 email lists and then unsubscribes later, because one of them will be good.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about sort of classes and how things work. Does anybody here take any psych classes? Anyone? All right. Okay, Marissa, but now anybody can chime in too about labs. So basically it's like how our online class is going to work. So if anybody can talk about labs first, and then basically if somebody wants to talk about what their experience has been in terms of online classes and what that actually looks like. And, you know, they kind of talked about how, you know, the Zoom was open later, but what were some other experiences that you guys have had? Yeah, Marissa, you're up.
Okay. Unfortunately, I cannot speak to like psych labs or anything like that. I've taken a sociology lab, which whether like that is similar, I'm sorry if it's not. Typically I find like in the arts, labs are not like you're in doing experiments. The lab that I was specifically in was a statistics course. So that lab was working on like the software that you would use for statistics. So in that case, what I could see is that that's just going to be moved online with your TA, and they would just be discussing it the same way. As for doing online courses, how does that look? I can only speak, I didn't take summer courses, but for the ending of, in spring I didn't take either, but for the ending of winter, how it looks for me is it was either, I had all synchronous, so at the same time, I believe that's the correct term. But yeah, I sat down at my laptop, and for me, because I'm in the 400 level courses, they're quite smaller. So perhaps there was 12 people in the class, and it was discussion based for us. So the professor would split us up into groups, and then we would discuss around the topic that was on the plate for that day. But it changes per each course. So that's all I can speak about that one. I think Parul maybe perhaps took spring courses.
Yeah, I did, and I can speak a little bit more about how labs are going to look for psych as well, just because first-year psych courses usually have at least 1 or 4, has like 10 points that you need to acquire by doing like lab participation. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going into the university or going into the psych floors to do it. They also have a lot of online participations that you can do to like get that points, and like I think they're focusing more on that as opposed to like in-person experiments, just to like give first-year students a bit of an idea of what that's going to look like. As for online classes, so I did take one this spring, and they all look pretty much the way they would like if you were in class. I had lectures where we would discuss things, just because I am also going into my 4th year, so my courses are higher level courses, so there were smaller groups, so there were a lot of discussions. But my profs would also put up their lecture recordings, so we could like do those before classes, so we wouldn't have to sit in front of the screens a lot. And as for like if you ever have a question or something, it would just be like the same way you would email somebody for their office hours. You would just like email your prof, and they would like get back to you with a time that works for both of you, and they would either send you a Zoom link or a Google Meet Hangout link, and you would go from there. but some classes were also just like self-paced. So you have a final at a certain day, but your profs kind of trust you to go through all the material yourself and like reach out to them if you have any questions or concerns. So if you are taking one of those classes, I think it's really important that you use a lot of like conscious time management skills, just so like it's very easy for it to get away from you. So you just want to like get Google Calendar, put those reminders in, and yeah, just keep on track.
Nathaniel, I know you took a few courses over spring and summer. Do you want to pipe in there?
For sure. So I guess I went a little psychotic and did both one spring and one summer. So I guess just speaking to my experience. So for my spring course, the professor just pre-recorded all of his lectures, and then he put them up to eClass. And it was just a private link on YouTube. So we just watched that at our own leisure. And then once a week, we would sign in for a seminar and have a discussion around the lecture. And for exams, it was an open book exam, but he gave us like a real close time constraint. So we didn't really have a lot of time to necessarily like reference your notes for every single question. And so that was for my spring course. And then I guess for my summer course, it was one where I had to sign into Zoom live twice a week. And for that, the instructor just lectured and shared their screen, but then would also put us into something called breakout rooms. So we'd be put into these small groups to discuss a few questions, and then be brought back to the larger group, all by the instructor through Zoom. And for that class, we didn't necessarily have any exams, but it was more just papers.
Cool. I'm going to get Kangmin to answer this one. There's a question about why do we need to keep receipts from the art store? Are we pre-purchasing art packs and picking them up, specifically for art 134? Do you know that answer?
Actually, I'm not sure about this answer. The only change I know that happened to the art store, I know previous years you had to get a consent form from your instructor to buy anything from the art store, but now you can just go in and get them. But I think you need to wait outside, like you have to like put in an order, wait outside, pick it up, kind of thing. That's the only difference I know. Not sure
So
about
it's
that.
sort of like a curbside pickup thing. My guess is if you need to keep receipts, I don't know, the only thing that I can think of would be something you might be able to write that off on your taxes as like part of your tuition and supplies expenses, or if you need to submit those receipts with your student loans or anything like that. So that's sort of my guess there. What I would say for that is there is a department, an art and design department Q&A tomorrow at 12 noon, I think. So this would be a great follow-up question to ask directly to those guys there. All right, so next question, this kind of, Pearl, you kind of hit on this already, but in terms of sort of like time management and how to deal with your course load. So we haven't heard yet too much. I'll get Abigail to maybe pipe in to answer this, and then a couple more of you too. But if you miss a day of class, how do you catch up? And if you know you're going to be missing a class, should you talk to your professor? So, I mean, obviously, in this case in point, there's going to be a lot that's going to depend on whether or not your class is live and synchronous, or whether or not things are pre-recorded. But yeah, do you want to jump in there, Abigail?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think this depends, like if your prof posts the notes or not. For me, I think like catching up is definitely notes based, unless it's like a discussion session or something where you might need to get notes from another person, in which case I say like going through the e-class participants list is key if you don't know anyone, and like shooting a random email. I've done this before. I've like also met friends via like e-class, which is cool, especially if you're going in like your first year in a class where you don't know anybody. And also that kind of like ties into meeting people online if you want to like get to know people in class. But yeah, in terms of catching up, if your prof doesn't post the notes, in that case, it's like key to have a person in class that you know, that you can get the notes from. And then also, what was the second part of that question? Oh yeah, if you're missing a class, if participation is like mandatory, then maybe let them know if there's a reason why you're missing. But like otherwise, if the notes are posted, I wouldn't like stress too much about it. Yeah.
I don't know, let's get a couple more of you just talking about classes and how to manage, like, I don't know, what's your take on how, like, is getting behind a good idea? Or like, how do you manage? Because like, it's going to be one of those things, like, before you know it, midterms are there, finals are there, things like that. So anybody want to jump in about some experiences maybe they've had?
I can sort of talk because I went to a high school that was self-directed, so doing everything kind of on my own time is familiar to me. So what I learned is that scheduling and just planning out your day to the very minute is sort of key, and just not allowing yourself to take like really long breaks between classes, or like, I don't know, going back to sleep after your 8 a.m. Do not do that. Yeah, I think it just comes down to planning, and even just staying on top of notes. And yeah, just don't, falling behind is not a good idea, because then you get swamped with papers and then it's midterm season and you're stressed out and it's just not a good time.
Yeah, if I can maybe just add, I think the biggest thing for me was literally the word midterm implies that like they only come in the middle of the term. So like late October, like so you're like just fine until then. And this is my biggest gripe, as the word midterm is so misleading, and the concept of midterm season, like it's just the whole semester. Surprise. But if you know that going in, you know that like yeah, in my first year I was like, oh, as long as I like get it together by October-ish, like it'll be fine, like midterm season will happen. That's just like kind of a lie, especially if you're in like 5 classes. There's like 5 different midterm seasons that will happen. Profs space them out differently depending on how many exams they have, like what their own class schedule looks like, all that kind of stuff. So big thing I'd recommend is, first of all, like put all of the dates in your calendar right at the beginning. Syllabus is blessed, like it exists for a reason. It's, most profs will tell you literally everything that's going to happen for the entire semester, like on day one, which I know was a big adjustment for me from high school, where you're just kind of like, you know, they just randomly tell you like, in 2 weeks we have a bio test. You're like, okay, cool. You actually know everything that's going to happen in advance, so you do have the ability to like really clearly plan out what's going to happen, how, you know, how many weeks in advance you should start writing a paper, that kind of stuff. But yeah, try and get like going from day one, and be prepared to start stuff early, because mid-October, like exams are just flying at you, like stuff's going on. It also just gets colder, and I feel like you get just less motivated, like it's dark out all the time, like all that kind of stuff. So I think the more you can capitalize on like the energy of September, to make sure you have your life planned out, you're feeling good, you can balance stuff, the better it will be. But also don't let that freak you out. Like it's also, first year I think is very much a time to like figure out all this stuff and like figure out what kind of systems work for you. If you're like a Google Calendar person, if you're like a paper calendar person, like any of that kind of stuff. So also don't put too much like crazy pressure on yourself in the first year. Like you can always make up for a bad GPA in your first year. You can always like figure stuff out. Like a lot of people totally switch their program after first year because they realized they didn't like it. Like all that stuff is totally fine. So take the time to try and figure out what kind of systems work for you and be proactive, but don't be stressed if you're like, this system did not work for me, I lost a semester. Like that's totally okay. That's happened to all of us, I'm sure. And you will recover. It will be okay. So I know it's extra stressful this year, especially with like so many changes, like you've already had to deal with so much. So have patience with yourself. Like you will be okay. You'll make it through, and you can always, you know, rebound next semester.
All right, we've got a few questions here in the chat, a few kind of quick, easy ones. Are there recordings from the Zoom calls from yesterday? So there are recordings. They aren't posted yet. We'll probably have those up early September. So just keep reading that student newsletter. Go back into eClass. I will update eClass and add the recordings of all of the live sessions back into eClass. Let's see. Since we're doing classes remotely, can all of our textbooks be accessed online, and how do we get them? So have any of you guys got any of your textbooks yet? I mean, basically, I mean, what we've been talking about is a lot of the advice is to not get your textbooks until classes start. So yeah, I don't know. I see a bunch of you guys nodding. So let's talk about textbooks.
I have some advice. So for the most part, I've decided I'm not paying for textbooks anymore. And if you're okay getting older editions, you can usually find them online as free PDFs. So as long as it's not like 100% important to have the most recent edition of a textbook, you can just get one from a few years earlier. You can find them on websites like Internet Archive or Sci-Hub. There's all kinds of places, or just search up the title. It just really beats, you know, forking out like $100 for a book that you could get for pretty much nothing.
Regarding textbooks, I don't know. I think it's like class dependent if you need one like physically or not. And you'll know that once you like, after your first class, you'll know that. Go online to like, if you have Facebook, and type in like, what is it, like U of A books for sale or something like that. And if you're in like any city you are in, like I'm sure that a lot of the same universities probably shares textbooks. There are some that won't be, which sucks, but there will be like, there are secondhand like book sale things that you can go on Facebook, and that's where I've bought all of my textbooks from. Also, because most people take Math 114, you don't need the textbook. Don't get the textbook. I've had my textbook for fifth year, for 5 years, and I can't sell it. Don't get the textbook. It's a waste of your money. That's it. Thank you.
See, this is the gold, people. This is what you get by actually tuning in and watching this. Okay, so there's a lot of people trying to, and you know, fair enough. It's what is eClass? How do you use it? Like what's in it? And I feel like obviously right now, because everything is virtual and everything online, eClass is going to be that much more important. And I know there's a lot of questions about when people are going to start seeing stuff in eClass. So I know basically probably the first day of classes is when you're actually going to see stuff in eClass. And if you get it before then, that's a bonus. So let's just get a few tips about eClass and how to use it and why. So yeah, I don't know, Kangmin, Abigail, Luke.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I can pitch in. So eClass is kind of like a virtual classroom platform type thing. And it's super vital now. A lot of professors, especially in arts, will post readings there. Sometimes you'll have to submit work there. And other times there'll be like classroom announcements that will also usually be sent to you via email. But I found that for some of my classes, the profs don't post it always on the first day. So like, don't stress if you don't see it for a little bit. And usually they'll let you know, like if there's content that you need to know. Sometimes they'll email you instead of posting it on eClass. But also, similar to the participants list thing, it's a way to communicate with people if you don't have like people's contacts. So I found that really useful too. And yeah, I don't know if I'm missing anything. Usually when you log into a class or like a classroom, I found it to be pretty intuitive. Like you don't really need to be like tech savvy to figure it out. But yeah, usually like listen to your profs and like whether or not you'll be like needing it or how often you'll be using it throughout the semester. So it kind of depends. But yeah, it's pretty easy to use and navigate, I found.
Yeah, even jumping off of that, one thing on the communication front that I've found super helpful with a handful of my classes is the professor will open forums on the eClass, and that's just a way for you to ask questions and just discuss stuff you have learned in class. So it really helps you when you feel like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what just happened in that class. I'm really struggling. I don't know anyone in this class. I find just posting on the eClass forum and being like, hey, can someone just like work this out with me? Super valuable, just really great way to A, get through your work, and B, also meet people. Additionally, some profs do give you participation grades based on the e-class forums. So just check out your syllabus for that and be conscious if they do.
Luke, that was an awesome segue because we actually have another question in the Q&A saying, how can we get extra help if we don't understand what we learn in class? So you guys already touched about like forums and reaching out to fellow students, but anybody have any other advice about how to get caught up with what's going on in class?
I would recommend talking to TAs for the most part. I found that really helpful, especially since sometimes profs can be a little bit scary and they're busy and stuff, but TAs are nice grad students and they're helpful. So if you know who your TA for a class is, sometimes you can just shoot them a message and say like, I'm not really following what's going on, can you help me? And for the most part, they're like over the moon to help somebody. So yeah, that's sort of my ticket for getting through things.
Yeah, and even if you're in a class that doesn't have a TA, like I think one of my biggest regrets in my degree so far is not using office hours as much as I can. Like profs usually literally have like an hour or two a week that they're like they would be sitting in their physical office, but now they'll be like sitting on a Zoom call or something for students to come and talk to them about anything, and they like book that time specifically. Some of them will be by appointment, so you'll just have to email your prof and be like, hey, can I talk to you for like half an hour? I'm just confused about this concept. Yeah, I know, like I the reason I haven't done this is because I find profs super intimidating. I'm always worried about like taking up their time, but don't be. If I could give my past self advice, that would be it. Like they're literally here to teach you, like that's what their job is. And so if you're not understanding something, it's totally okay to be like, hello, I just need you to walk me through this. It usually will only take like 15 minutes. You'll feel so much better. And profs honestly like connecting with their students most of the time, especially if you're in a smaller class. Like they want to get to know you. It's a cool like bonding experience. And it helps so much. So definitely don't be afraid. Don't be like me. Make better choices. Definitely go to office hours and ask your profs for help.
If I can just jump in after that, I think like I personally don't use office hours as a term. I use it like free tutoring because profs are probably like the most expensive tutors out there. So please don't be intimidated to use to ask your prof a question. They're literally sitting there waiting for students to ask, and they're kind of required to sit there. So don't make their job easy. Go get your education.
Regarding like help for like other classes, there's like services on campus. So if you have a pen and paper, write them down. For like if you need to write a paper or anything written, the Center for Writers is really good. I've never used it because I had like an honors English friend who's super good, but like if you don't have like your own personal editor, that's another great place to go. I believe it's called the Decima Center. So that's for like your maths and I believe your stats. Also, just because I know a lot of people take Math 114 and it makes a lot of people cry, they offer additional classes on the side to your Math 114 class. You have to pay for it, but I really recommend it. I ended that class with like a B+, which for Math 114 is really good, and I really recommend that. Okay, that's Decima Center, and then someone else can maybe talk more about resources.
If I can like add in real quick.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. I was just going to say there's like, in regards to tutors, there's the InfoLink tutor registry, and you can check that out like depending on the class that you're in. And you can go to like InfoLink's website. I don't have the link with me, but if someone can find it, that'd be great. And I think some of them are free and then some of them are paid, but they have different rates like based on what you're looking for, which I found to be pretty accessible if you're looking for someone. And those are also like students on campus and they've usually taken the class before. So it's pretty helpful.
And I was just going to say that we also have the Academic Success Center, which is essentially catered to helping you succeed in your academics. So you can go in, and if you have like something more general like essays and research and stuff, they can help you with that. But they also have appointments where you can just sit down and like look for specific help, and they'll be able to direct you to the exact resource that you need to go to.
Cool. I'm going to get to a few more questions here. So let's kind of switch gears a little bit. I'll just answer this one. The question is, are spring and summer terms the same as fall and winter terms, or are they like summer school where you only do stuff for requirements or something like that? So no, basically what it is fall is 4 months, winter is 4 months, spring is 2 months, summer is 2 months. And basically it's a way to do a class in a shorter period of time. Traditionally, a normal school year is September through April, and then you take 4 months off to work. And that's sort of the old school model of in and out in 4 years. You go hard September through April, and then you work. But that's really kind of not the reality. I mean, most students now, you know, Luke just said he's in his 6th year, like spread it out. So we'll get you guys to chat about this too, but like spread it out. I mean, the reality is most people work or they have volunteer commitments. You can just take a course in spring term or summer term to sort of keep on track if you have a certain timeline that you want to be doing. Or sometimes what happens is, I'm kind of touching on another question here, if there's a course that you really want to take in fall or winter and it's full and you cannot get into it, then sometimes you can pick it up in spring or summer term. So yeah, does anybody want to chime in about sort of the pros and cons of doing things in 4 years or longer? I see Luke looks like maybe he wants to chime in here.
Yeah, I would love to chime in. The get your degree in 4 years, for some people, that's great. That's awesome. If that's what you want to do, go for it. By all means. I find personally, and for a lot of people around me, 4-year dream just isn't a reality. Maybe there's courses you want to take. Maybe you have to work while you're also taking classes. Maybe you just want to be really involved on campus. There is nothing wrong with taking 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 10 years to do a degree. Some programs do have a soft or hard cap on how long you can take. So before you decide to do a 20-year degree, do check that out. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with taking a little extra time. It just allows you to be a little bit more relaxed and get more in depth with the content, I find, as well as other engagements. I've been able to find a really good balance with usually taking about 4 classes a semester instead of the recommended 5. But then that gives me a chance to be very involved around campus, and then also just be able to keep up things that I find valuable. So like I get to still play water polo. I can still go out and bike a bunch. So just being able to find that balance. Maybe the 4-year degree is for you, maybe the 8-year degree is for you. So just understand what you want to get out of your university experience.
Yeah, so I'm in my 5th year. I'm taking the long road. That was in part though because coming into university, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I switched around a lot. At one point, I was in my pre-year for business. I then got into business, and I was like, nah, I don't want to do business. So that's my reasoning for why I'm like taking a little bit longer. But alongside that, once I made my decision of what I wanted to be in, if I wanted to take summer classes, I could graduate in 4 years. However, during the summers, I have had the opportunities to do study abroad, for which did count within my my courses, but like not fully, and that's another question. But so I took the opportunities to do stuff within my summers that kind of pertain to my education, but wouldn't allow me necessarily to graduate. And that kind of goes alongside if you want to do like a work experience in the summers or even during your year. So there's that. Okay, bye.
All right, we've got a few people that want to know about tips for really late night classes. So, I mean, night classes are just at a night class time. And I mean, obviously with things being online this year, it'll depend if your class is synchronous and live or if it's asynchronous and you can do it anytime. But I know Nathaniel for sure, I think you said you were taking a night class. So has anyone else taken night classes and wants to chime in? But yeah, Nathaniel, go for it.
I personally have taken a night class, I think, in every semester of my degree, minus spring and summer, except for this past year. And the reason why I take it is because it like frees up so much of my day to do other things. But so in terms of energy, or in terms of tips, I would say definitely get energy, not just on, if you can, not just on like Red Bull, energy drinks, or coffee, but kind of like self-sustain. Or if not, if it's a last resort, then do whatever it takes, as long as you're maintaining your health to stay awake and stay focused. But also, a tip for the night class is that they're usually pretty long. So and there are breaks in between, but again, make sure that it's something interesting that you can sit through, because worst case scenario, you're probably sitting in a lecture of something you hate for 3 hours. You can imagine anything worse. So just have enough energy, make sure you're interested in it, and stay engaged.
Let's see. Okay, so we've got a few more questions. For the BA degree, we have to take 2 classes that are non-arts. What are some good classes to take to complete this requirement? So if anybody wants to talk about non-arts, and then the next question we'll get into talking about language other than English. So just get that in the back of your head. So anybody non-arts classes?
Hi. So personally, I've been from like engineering and stuff, so I know about like some classes that are not just arts. One class I really recommend is the video game making class. It's STS 250, I think. So I think that stands for science, technology, something. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's an interdisciplinary class. A bunch of different students get to participate and create an indie game. If you're interested.
Okay, guys, somebody's got to chime in with something they've taken that's non-arts. I mean, the reality is you might end up taking something that you're not like super passionate about, but yeah, what have you guys been doing? You're all up for your students. Come on. If you haven't got this in your schedule yet, what are you doing?
Wait, Marissa, do you want to go or do you want to?
I only have 2. I think the classes I took was stats and I took math. And I've already talked about my passion for Math 114, so you all know where I'm at with that one.
I did that too. I took both of those, and also I feel like Psych 104 is usually like a staple. Like people go for that class. It's pretty interesting, also kind of easy if you've taken like Bio 30. I feel like the material is pretty transferable. And I actually like stats. I don't know if that's like a controversial opinion. I feel like it's a good class. I'm also like an econ minor, so it like worked anyway with what I'm doing. But yeah, I don't know. Those 2 classes are pretty good.
Yeah, what I would definitely recommend is like use your imagination. Like I'm old enough that you used to have to take 2 science classes. So I took 2 science classes, large regrets, EAS 100, like ruined my life. Don't take that one. It seems really easy. It's really not. But you can take like any non-arts faculty. So that includes like native studies, which is really cool. There's a lot of really interesting classes in the field. Oh, it doesn't? Oh, I can't believe I'm giving you.
Yeah, that's like the one caveat. It has to be outside of native studies as well.
Okay,
so,
just kidding. Yeah. Not native studies, but it can be
good to have a staff person.
Thank you for fact checking me instantly live. But yeah, I like have a roommate who's taking like a business law class. Like that's cool. I'm pretty sure you can take in like the faculty of like kinesiology. So some of my friends have taken like a dance class or like a tennis class. Like that's pretty cool. I would say literally one of the things you can do on Bear Tracks where you use to like register for classes is just search like any open class during a certain time block, which I know is like kind of like seems crazy. But if you're like, I would really like to take a class from like 9 a.m. to 11 or whatever, like that works for my schedule. You can literally just see any class that's available, and a lot of the time you'll find out things that you didn't even know existed. And some of them probably aren't in the Faculty of Arts, so you can be like, oh, that's cool. That's literally how I make my schedule every time, because I'm like, I really am particular about like the time blocks. So just a general scheduling advice. But yeah, there's lots of classes except data studies that you can take to fulfill that requirement. So definitely like, yeah, look around a little bit. There's lots of options, and there's sure to be something you'll like.
I was in the same boat as Emma, where I'm old enough that I had to take 2 sciences. So I did Bio 107 and 108. And I thought, coming from high school, I was really good at bio. they were pretty hard. So maybe if that's not, if you're just doing it casually, I maybe would not recommend. But after that, I did Zoology 224. That was also really hard. I did Stats 151. That was really hard. So I don't know, finding something outside of arts can be a little difficult. I heard that Earth and Atmospheric Sciences was easy, but now we're hearing from Emma that it was bad. So yeah, it just is a matter of, I guess, finding something that you sort of jive with, and then you can stick with it better and you don't have to dedicate your whole degree to it. But yeah.
Yeah, so the question was, which science class did Emma say not to take? That was EAS 1.
Yeah, EAS 100. It might be fine for other people. I just found it really difficult. It's actually a lot of material. Some people call it rocks for jocks, is what I heard, as in it's the easy science class, which is why I took it. I was like, I can be a jock. Just kidding. It was really hard. There was just a lot of material, and if you missed one class, it was really difficult. That could just be my experience, but I wouldn't recommend it personally.
Yeah, so there's another question. It says, wait, so psych, one second, bro. Psych 104 isn't an arts course. I had no idea. So yeah, psych is one of those departments that actually splits between arts and sciences. So for psych, please check with, like, on Bear Tracks, it'll list all the arts courses first, and then it'll list all the science courses next. So just double check all that. And then Pearl, jump in, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say EAS 100 was one of my favorite courses that I took in my first year. It was like one of my 9 a.m. classes. I hate mornings, and I still went to every class. I just liked it so much. You get to like buy a little kit filled with like rocks. They're all different colors. It's all very cute. But yeah, I would say, like, if you are good at memorizing stuff, that class is like, I think you would do really well in it. But if you're like not super great at that, it might be a little hard. But I was just going to say, like, yeah, if you want to take EAS 100, do it. I had a great time.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Nathaniel.
If I was just gonna chime in in the chat function, we put in the course catalog, and as Marissa said, it comes in clutch when you don't know what to take. So I would recommend that. And also when it comes to taking non-arts classes, I would just make sure that if you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone, definitely do it. So for me, as an econ major, I was required to take a math class and a stats class. So I fulfilled the requirement by fulfilling my econ requirement as well. That also goes for certificates and other programs that are going on campus. You can even major or minor in science. So I would say don't necessarily just look for courses that are non-arts, but if they can fulfill your requirements too, then I would say go for it.
Yeah, and so there's a question in the chat too, talking about what would be an easy science class to take. So what I'm gonna say here is I can almost guarantee that if somebody tells you a class is easy, it's not going to be easy. And the reason is, so I often talk to students when I say this, that this is one of the big differences between high school and university. Basically, every class is optional, because if you're in a degree and it's a required course and you're not doing well, that might be a sign you need to switch degrees. So what ends up happening is everybody that is taking classes with you, especially as you keep going up in getting more senior level, people are really passionate and interested in these subject areas. So if you're taking a class that you have no interest in, you're going to be surrounded by people that really love that subject matter. So they're going to be really into it. And then you're going to be competing for your grades and all that kind of stuff with those other students. So what's easy to you is not necessarily easy to anybody else. And like Parul was saying, like if you're great at reading and memorizing, you know, some classes are super heavy with lots of reading and other classes not so much. So you really do have to find what fits, 1, with your interests, and 2, your learning style. Has anybody here, I'm gonna just jump in and ask a question. Has anybody switched classes because they didn't like the prof? Can you guys talk about that?
Yeah, I can talk about that a little bit. I was in a philosophy class last semester, or a couple semesters ago now, and like the prof was super interesting, but I just didn't jive with them. And so what I did, I had become friends with one of my profs from a semester previous to that, within the Faculty of Philosophy. Sent them an email and was like, hey, do you know anyone else teaching this class? And he gave me a list of names that were also teaching that class, that he thought I would jive a little better with. So that's just like a testament to talking to your profs and getting to know them a little better, because they also know the other profs. So if you ever have a question like that, you can be like, hey, please help me.
I've also switched because I guess didn't necessarily like the prof's teaching style within the first 2 weeks. The prof would speak super fast and super monotone, and I'd like someone to be a little bit more slow and engaged. And like with that, for me, I knew that I was always be, for even the first 2 weeks, I was only just going to class to write everything down as quickly as I could and wasn't necessarily like taking in the information. And I had just actually, well, back when we were physically on campus, I just dropped into another class. I actually wasn't necessarily even enrolled in it, liked the professor better, and then I watch listed it and then I swapped it. So I don't think you can necessarily have to switch just because it's a terrible prof, but you can switch to find better ones as well.
So there's a few questions in the chat about classes being full and stuff like that. So if anybody has tips, but basically if a course, so there's not a whole lot of requirements in terms of when you take courses and in terms of what order. In some regards, like as classes lead to the next level, there is some consideration of trying to get certain courses taken in certain orders. But say, for example, like English 102, 103, the thing about junior level English classes is that everybody from the entire campus needs to take junior level English. So these classes fill up super fast. You don't have to take them in your first year. I mean, it's recommended in the sense that one, it's a requirement, and two, the skills that you develop through your English classes are going to benefit you throughout your other courses. That being said, Nathaniel already talked about this. The add drop deadline for classes is September 15th. And because classes are online this year, the word on the street with the undergrad advisors is that we really feel like there's going to be a lot of movement in classes those first 2 weeks. So if you put stuff on, oh, am I an advisor? No, I'm not an advisor, but I work very closely with a lot of them and I know a lot of the answers. So maybe Nathaniel, I'll get you to throw up the arts.undergrad email address. So if you do have questions, you can talk to the Faculty of Arts undergrad advisors, and then you can also go to department undergrad advisors. So it sort of starts like, if you have just like a general big picture question, start with the faculty advisor. And then as you get more specific to either a major, minor, certificate, then you can start talking with niche people. But yeah, basically put stuff on your watch list, and then even before you get notifications, start trying to get into those classes, because there's going to be so much movement in those first 2 weeks of classes. Let's see, we've got a few more questions. Oh, go ahead, Nathaniel.
So I noticed in the Q&A that we have quite a few questions about requirements, and if I could just speak about that really quickly. So I put in links to the arts tip sheet. So this is just basically a document that came out of the USS office that helps you meet the requirements, and then check out the BA calendar, which also tells you how to get through all your requirements. And also on Bear Tracks, on the left-hand side, I think there is an academics requirement tool. So if you go through there, it tells you all the courses that you have to take in your degree. And as you have them registered, it'll check them off as well. So.
Okay, we've only got a few minutes left. So I know there's more questions that we haven't gotten to. And even if we did answer them, and if people have more questions, again, please do email the Undergrad Student Services Office. We'll be happy to answer questions, put you in touch with the right people. So a couple quick questions. What are some easy language courses that I'd recommend? Again, that's the thing about easy courses. What's easy to you is not easy to anybody else. So double check on the language requirement, relatively new. If you've taken a 30 level English class in high school, you likely don't need to do your your language other than English at the university level. If you do need to do that, however, it needs to be 6 credits of the same language. So you can't take, you know, Italian 101 and Spanish 101. It's got to be 2 classes in a row of the same language. And basically what I would say there is check out the Modern Language and Cultural Studies website. They've got a list of all their courses. So one little tip, the U of A offers Irish, but it's a weird course number. It's not written up as Irish 111, it's MLCS 111, I think, something like that. So that first year course doesn't count as your language other than English, but if you carry on and actually go to the 200 level, you can get credit for it. And there's a really cool scholarship award bursary opportunity where you could, post-COVID, once some of this like international travel gets sorted out, there could be an opportunity for you to travel to Ireland to take your 6 credits in Irish and almost have it all paid for. So yeah, there's lots of, I know I'm just like dropping this bomb right at the end of the time, but there's lots of ways to help pay for things that you're doing and help pay for different experiences. Sure, Marissa and her team from Oasis is going to send some communication out over the next little while about the grants that Oasis does to help support students, but there's also tons of awards, grants, bursaries, everything. Okay, everybody, we're gonna wrap up with just a quick roundtable. What is a like, what's your like tip? What's the bonus for everybody tuning in today? What is your like insider secret that somebody needs to know, either about like, I don't know, accessing services or like how to do something easier, or just like a piece of advice? So why don't we start with Nathaniel? I'm gonna put you on the spot. We'll go Nathaniel, Luke, Parul, Marissa, Abigail, Kangmin, Rebecca, and Emma.
Okay, to be really quick with it, read everything, whether it's newsletters, following social media, syllabus, e-class, read everything. You'll never know when you'll find a hidden gem. And even if you're reading a lot of like, I guess, quote unquote nonsense, the one time that you find something excellent, it will be worth it, I promise.
Yeah, signing up on Bear Tracks for notifications for when you watch list class, the email notifications come in slightly slower than the text notifications. So that's how I've gotten into every class that I've watch listed. So just don't try to get into the same class as I am.
I would say if you can, take English 103 in your first year, because they teach you how to do your research. So they'll teach you how to do your citations, how to write like university level papers, and that really helps you with everything else you're doing. So if you're like coursework permits, if you are degree permits, do that course. It will help you with every other course you're going to take.
Mine will be, I'm going to try to answer a question in the Q of A, but I'm going to say apply to everything. This means scholarships, any opportunity, even if you're not qualified, just apply. Regarding, because I did study abroad, you can do your actual courses abroad. Just check out Cortona, E3, and just the study abroad kind of page, and hopefully Nathaniel could link that to you. Sorry, I couldn't answer your full question there.
Yeah, no, I was also going to say, like, apply to all the scholarships available to you, but also use Google Calendar. Like, I love it so much. You can download your schedule from Bear Tracks, so you know, like, what's going on when. It's been so key, like, throughout my life in general and not just school. But yeah, like, learn how to use it, but also, like, download your schedule on there from Bear Tracks.
All right, we'll get Kangmin and then Rebecca and
It's just tips, right? Tips about I would say keep keep a calendar and make sure you're on top of things, because deadlines and stuff pass really quickly. So say, for example, if you do want to switch into a different program or something, make sure you do that really early in the year. Make sure you know what you want to get into. If you want to be involved, always keep on top of it, because those opportunities will fly by before you know it.
Yeah, so my advice is really just ask questions, like bother your TAs, bother your profs. Like, it was so important for me to get where I am, because I've always been like, oh, I don't want to bother people, I don't want to take up their time. But no, bother people, get in their way, ask questions, you won't regret it. And also about sort of international courses, this is a little different, but the Department of Anthropology offers field schools. So I did one last summer where I went and did archaeology down in southern Alberta. It was worth 6 credits, and we have all kinds of field schools that operate during normal circumstances that go to like Europe and stuff. So if you're looking for an abroad experience but don't want to commit to a whole semester or whatever, there are field schools that we offer.
Yeah, I guess just similar to Rebecca, like I think just never be afraid to reach out, like especially as a first year, like pretty much everyone else is as stressed and like terrified as you are. I remember like trying to front that I was like fine for the first like 3 months of first year, even though I was like freaking out. It's okay, like everyone's freaking out. This is the weirdest time to be a first year also ever. Like you are coming into the strangest time. So like don't like be patient with yourself, trust that everyone will like be willing to help you because you are having to deal with so much. Like people are here to support you during that time. So like always never hesitate to reach out, whether that's your prof, whether it's like a person in your class, like that's like a real theme from today. Like access the services that are available to you. They exist to help you. And like we're all gonna sort through this together. Like there's never been a time more to like reach out to the U of A community. So don't be afraid. You're gonna be great. It's gonna be okay. And I wish you all the best.
Yes, thank you everybody for tuning in. We're going to sign off, but I will finish with just a final reminder to follow up, send emails to arts.undergrad@ualberta.ca with any questions. The whole team of advisors there are working very hard to help you succeed, and we'll get you the answers you need either from ourselves or we'll pass you along to somebody else. So thanks very much for tuning in. Check out tomorrow's live Zoom sessions, and best of luck when classes start next Tuesday. Bye everybody.